Hi friends, welcome to the Sacred Nectar podcast. This is episode 8, and today I speak with Karen Joy Fletcher. I first met her through her husband, who happens to be a nature and awareness mentor in survival skills. He does a lot of other things regarding those things, but his work is great, and it led me to her work, which was also really, really wonderful for me. This interview happened during my most recent pregnancy, and we talk about Karen's path through her life and her journey in motherhood and all the things that nourish us. It's a really great conversation, and we both share very healing things that have nourished us in our life. Enjoy.
A little bit about me. I'll share my story in a little bit, but some of the main things that really are my core passions in my life are Qigong, which is a Chinese form of breath meditation and movement, and Earth, a way of connecting back with our childhood passions of using outdoor play to learn from life. And I came to Qigong. I'll share more about this through a healing crisis. Got my life, my joy back through this practice. I've done extensive training in China at Shaolin Monastery and have a Qigong Grandmaster who I've traveled throughout Eastern and Western Europe with, and have been teaching this form of Qigong for 17 years or so. And it's just a path that keeps getting deeper and more nourishing. And then the Earth Gym, I find, I love learning. I've always loved school, but I tend to be someone that gets stuck in my head. And so being in my body and learning from my body and learning from my greatest teacher, Mother Earth, and our trees and forests and sky and rivers are really what I'm passionate about, in helping others step back into that gateway of play and of openness, the magic that's in every moment, and that when we step outside and fill our pores with that life energy, that chi, that's when life really comes alive. And that has been my path. And so I'm so passionate to share that with others. And I do that in a variety of ways, through my writing, through in-person teaching, through workshops, through teaching at conference centers and universities and schools. And online now. So ever since COVID, started doing a lot of online teaching.
Yes, and I am so thankful for your online teaching. I have been a part of a few of the courses that you have invested in and shared, and they have been very lovely with your personal touch. The one that I've recently been working through is one that you did with Nate for rewilding your body. And you definitely gave a lot of, you teach a lot of the classes in that whole course, but just your take on everything is so encouraging, and how you invite everyone in, like you said, through Yay, the gateway of Yay and play, and just this, so many of us live with a guard around us, like a small cage, so to speak, of protecting ourselves so often. And there is this chance to drop that when we go out in nature. And it almost feels counterintuitive because of our modern lives. We're so, I guess you would say, comfortable indoors. But truly our bodies relax, and all those little barriers can just fall when we do go outside. But just your invitation to, I guess, let them drop even a little deeper or further fall from us. is such beautiful, beautiful medicine for
Mm,
for me, and I'm sure others who partake of your work. So yeah, thank you for your offerings.
mm,
Um, so share, I think you're, from what I remember, just learning about you and what you shared when we recorded last. Um, share about your journey to Qigong and nourishing life. And yeah, tell me about your journey and how you got to where you are.
mm. Thank you. Yes, well, life is a meandering journey, right? I mean, no, maybe there are some people that have like a straight path, but I don't think there's many of them. And like I think most humans on this planet, my journey to these treasures in my life are really through hardship and through learning and going through some of my darkest times. um, and focusing on Qigong, Chinese medicine, nourishing life philosophy first. This really started the journey here in childhood with a big move my family made. And um, it just a lot of hardship happened after that. I'm a wonderful twin sister. We've been like this our whole life. I feel very blessed to share my life with my twin sister. And during the family hardships that we had in that time, my sister became anorexic, and but being twins, I didn't understand that at first. But we always did what each other we learned from each other. And when I saw her not eating, then I was like, oh, then I'm not going to eat. Anyways, I started down this pathway of anorexia, and um, any of you listening that have had an eating disorder know that it's all about not trusting our desires and not nourishing. So it was now I'm in this place of embracing the nourishing life teachings. But it took for me, I went to the extreme of non-nourishment, of not trusting my body's basic desires. And it was a convoluted path, but or it was a long path where I was got a little better, but this route of starting to deny my what my body was telling me and to control and deny nourishment started at a pretty early age. And it wasn't until high school, though, that I kind of got by as like, well, I'm still considered healthy. And but in high school, I realized I needed some help, and so I got some help to heal my relationship with food. And I went to college. I was thought I was healed, but that way of living for it was multiple years of living in that state of denial and not listening to my body, to my heart, what I really desired. Um, it spread into the other areas of my life. So while I was eating physically, I couldn't digest the food, but I also couldn't, like, I had a lot of emotions from denying myself so long. So there's all this emotions that are not being digested. And then spiritually, I was squashing myself through that. And so I was, I had a great school, and, but I daily was really hurting physically and emotionally and spiritually in my heart and body and soul. And there was this one day when I went to see the counselor I was seeing there, and I just like blurted out, like, I just want to go home. And she looked at me and she said, you can. And within 24 hours, I had left on medical leave. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. um, and little did I know that I was starting on this like soul journey trajectory of my life. And it was all, I had to be in that place to be where I am today. So I went home and started to see different doctors to help me with all the physical pain I was in, but they're like, I don't know, you seem fine. It must just be stress. It's like not helpful. So a family friend recommended Chinese medicine, and I went to see this Chinese medicine doctor. And in our first visit, she did the pulse reading and looked at my tongue and asked all the questions. And I loved her office. It was in Berkeley, and all the smells of the Chinese herbs. Like immediately, it felt like a healing place. And she looked at me in the eye and she said, I see the patterns and I can feel the patterns of disharmony that you've been struggling with, and you're going to get better. And I started to work with her and a therapist, and together I was able to touch the seeds and root out this pattern, transform. It's really this transformation of this pattern, just harmony, into self-compassion, of mindfulness, of loving myself again and trusting myself again, and remembering how to nourish my body again. And just a few tidbits of that journey, I wasn't able to digest food really much at all. So I had to go back to, I was drinking a lot of hot water, which I still do today. And because that helps nourish the digestive fire. And I was eating mostly rice porridge and steamed veggies and a little bit of meat. And so I actually was losing weight at first when seeing her even more. And my mom was like, I don't know, is this right? But I knew in my body and soul that this was right. And I also was doing what's called moxibustion, using this wonderful plant mugwort. It's a heat source that stimulates different acupuncture points. And my doctor had me do this on myself daily. It smells a little bit like weed. So if you're doing it, just let me know. It's moxa. But it does have a healing smell. And that at the same time, I was starting to read some Thich Nhat Hanh books and teachings on mindfulness. And I find that mugwort was also that time of moxa, these points that I was stimulating now take a minute or two or less to, feel that heat. But at that point, it took a half an hour of sitting with this herb and heating these points. And I was sitting outside in the garden with myself. I was actively nourishing myself and taking care of myself. And it opened up this self-compassion, um, deep healing within for my inner child, um, and um, and being with myself and enjoying that moment of nourishing myself. And there's other little moments of like reading Thich Nhat Hanh, the journey of like the joy of mindfulness. And I remember taking a shower one day and was like, I like taking showers. It feels so good. Like I can let myself enjoy it, because the anorexia is all about control. And like I had to drive myself to do everything. Yeah, I like to do well in school, but I had to. And yeah, I liked sports, but I had to like extend my workout. If I was going for a bike ride, 10 miles wasn't good enough. I had to go 18. Or this big hill, I can't do it once, I have to do it twice. Or, there was always that like driven. And but now I could like, I can just be this is nice. And washing dishes, like, well, I like this warm water in the bubbles, like, and I don't have to get this done just to do the next thing. Like, it was completely transformational. And so these doorways started to open. I remember when I first was able to digest my first meal and the joy that I felt in that, and my body receiving nourishment, the foundational nourishment when my moon cycle came back again. The joy of my body being healthy, and being a woman and trusting the beauty in that. So during that time, I really say that Chinese medicine helped me get my life back. And as I had taken, a medical leave of absence during that time from school, and um, my doctor said, you can also practice qigong, which I didn't know what it was at the time, but she said that's the foundation where actually this medicine comes from, and uh, that qigong will give you the tools to maintain your good health, to keep strengthening your good health. It's a way of giving yourself a treatment without all the needles and herbs each day. Like, well, I'm sold. And so I then, eventually was well enough to go back to school, and I decided, well, I'm going to learn Chinese because, like, I just want to learn everything I can about this medicine, the culture that it's risen up from, the history of China, and the language, because it comes from the language, and find a qigong teacher. So I did start reading and practicing with different teachers I could find, and and I learned Chinese, and I love the language, and did study abroad in Taiwan. But it wasn't until 10 years later that I met my qigong grandmaster, Grandmaster Xu Mingtang of the Zhongyuan qigong lineage, or ZY qigong for short. And um, and in meeting him briefly, I had a very magical encounter of just even hearing about him in the school. I had this inner, like, oh, like, I'm going to meet him. And I was with one of my best friends at the time, when I overheard a conversation about this teacher in the school, and she's like, Karen, I want you to look into this. I'm like, yeah, me too. So I ended up meeting this qigong teacher. I went to a retreat in Seattle, and afterwards, he had mentioned this, like, trainings he was giving in Shaolin, which I didn't think I'd be able to make it, but he gave me his email. He's like, well, and I said, I want to come to China at some point. He's like, well, here's my email, let me know. But after the retreat, I'm like, okay, I'm going. Like, my heart was like, when you get that feeling in your heart, it's just almost bursting. And it's like, okay, I'm going to follow this. So I sent him an email. I was like, I don't know if you remember me, but I was at the retreat. I haven't really done that much qigong. I've done a little bit here and there, but I've done this type of meditation. I'd like to come to Shaolin Monastery to train with you. Which group should I come to? And anyways, that night I had done this class I was in about doing psychic readings, and I was planning to travel to South America after graduating from grad school, which I was in at the time. And I asked my partner, I'm like, well, I just wanted to ask about planning my trip, and and should I start planning now for this? And she did her reading. She's like, nah, it's just going to happen. And I actually see you wearing sweaters. You're going to be somewhere cold. And I'm like, what? And so that night I came home, checked my email, and I had an email from Grandmaster Shiming and he said, ni hao, Karen. Like, yes, I remember you. Come to Shaolin, come to my third group, level 3. It's a month-long training. You'll be my most advanced student, so you'll learn the fastest. And then consider this option. You continue your practice for a couple of weeks in the Shaolin Mountains, meet me in Beijing, and travel with me to Germany, Hungary, Switzerland, Slovakia as my assistant, and I will pay your way, give you a stipend. You'll learn all 4 levels of ZY Qigong system, and then you go back to the United States and start teaching. Oh my gosh. uh, like, really? Like, I remember I was in a group house living. I almost fell off my chair reading this email. And
Such an opportunity. Yes.
Yeah. So that's how I came to Qigong. And then there's more layers, but that is the initial part of my journey. You can sense the magic and excitement, and there's more layers. Life is up and down, and so there's been a lot of transformation and different journeys. But this is the heart of the journey that has led me to these practices, and then to the studying with another master Chinese doctor in China, doing 6 different internships with him at his clinic. He lives the nourishing life philosophy, like these layers of teaching. I'm just like, it's how I inform my life, and part of receiving these treasures, I is to pay it forward. Share these gifts as a way to spread the goodness. And I just feel this is what nature does. How to nourish. Nature knows how to nourish itself, and so yes, something I'm very passionate about.
So beautiful. I love to hear your journey, and I love to hear, even now, the excitement and the energy of just the enrichment of life that it brought to you in your voice and in your energy. That is so powerful that you had this opportunity just like dropped in your lap. And like, it's amazing. I remember when I was younger having interest in Chinese medicine and thought, I'm never going to be able to like go to China to learn it. And I didn't have an opportunity like you did, but I've always been so enriched by the ancient, um, the ancient wisdom found in traditional Chinese medicine, and just even the Chinese culture, the people who respect the ancient ways within the culture. And I think in present day modern China, it's probably mostly people like the doctors who practice traditional Chinese medicine that are still respecting those ways. But there's so much wisdom to be found within. And what a beautiful thing that it found you. I mean, like, just dropped into your space. That's so wonderful. Yeah. And so um, now you do, I think, a lot of your life is lived in the nourishing life way. I mean, I don't know firsthand because I'm not in your immediate sphere, but just so many of your little emails and the wisdom that you share, even just within your classes that you teach, you definitely bring these elements into your life. And I know that they help you to have a better quality of life. Yeah. This awareness of being connected to nature and listening inside more than we do outside is so vital to our well-being, and I also believe the future and our planet's well-being, because we have to listen and honor what we're being spoken to, or what's being spoken to us, for us to grow and to be open to other things. And that's how the future happens, is growth and being open. So yeah, tell me, you teach Qigong now, and you also teach something called Earth Gym. And I know that's a different story. You can share a little bit about that if you'd like. But just tell me about your offerings and yeah, your medicine playing out, paying it forward, like you said. Share that.
Well, yes. So before I met my husband, Nate, I lived a very nomadic lifestyle for a period of my life. And I had mentioned this, in addition to studying with my Qigong Grandmaster and doing those travels and then coming back and starting to teach Qigong classes. I've done Qi dancing classes, which is Qigong combined with ecstatic reform dance, and outdoor classes, Qigong in wilderness hiking trips and trekking trips in China, Western China. um, and based in Yunnan province and Sichuan province, the mountains and the borders of Tibet. So in addition to offering these classes, I also mentioned through my work with my Qigong Grandmaster, meeting another Chinese master doctor, Dr. Zhao Fushui, he lives in Henan province, China, in Zhengzhou, a huge city. But when he was a young boy, he was in the countryside, but now the city has grown all around him. And so in studying with him, I'm not a doctor. I consider myself an ambassador of Chinese medicine, the healing arts, and the nourishing life philosophy, and then more teaching the energetic arts with the Qigong. And that said, I have obviously the medicine saved my life. And so I have immense respect and awe and thirst for learning the medicine. So I was blessed to be able to do 6 different internships at his clinic. And he has a family doctor, a country doctor license, which isn't the most prestigious license in China because most doctors work in the hospitals with the Western medicine and Chinese medicine combined. But he chose this. He learned the old way. He was apprenticed with his great uncle, for 40 years. He was practicing by his side, and then he had his own clinic, and so he can do everything. He sees infants to elders to everyone in between. I've seen him treat anything from, esophagus cancer, a woman that had a urinary bladder infection for 30 years, get better in 7 days, psoriasis, infertility, depression. It's been amazing to work with him. And so another way I offer the pay forward is that I've done a lot of writings of my studies with him. And so it's a way of sharing not only because with studying with Dr. Zhao, yes, I learned about Chinese medicine and the wisdom and the treasures of it, but he's also a self-made master. So he's a master of living life. And so some of his spiritual teachings just by being with him, and also of the culture, because this medicine, in order to understand the medicine, you need to understand the culture and the language. And so that's one of my passions, is bringing that forward. And I have an extensive, like, over 50 blogs of my studies and learnings with him that eventually will be put into a book form. And my travels around the country. So there's a whole portion, and as my son gets older, I'm a Sagittarius. I love to travel. So I'll bring more of that again into my life. But the traveling, I find, and writing about it is a way to bring people along on these learnings. And then recently, I've been doing more teaching. I have a women's nourishing Qigong group, and going deep into the ZY Qigong teachings. And that's been phenomenal. Through COVID, I've been doing that online, but then, I get to talk to, it's like you and I can connect, just from people from all over the world. We can be in circle together. And then the Earth Gym, I used to have a weekly class in Seattle at one of the local parks, Green Lake Park, called it our Green Lake Dojo, training with sticks and stones and climbing the trees. And now that, since having my son and moving out in the countryside, I've been doing more like weekend workshops for Earth Gym, or teaching through like the local wilderness awareness school. And the nourishing life classes. We've taught one through our home for several months with my husband, but it's a combination of Qigong practices with learning about different points, the meridian system, learning our energetic anatomy. It's something that was really taken out of education systems largely about 500 years ago, but it's, in my Qigong Grandmaster teaches our 3 energetic anatomies, which Qigong works on all 3 of the physical, energetic, and spiritual. Yeah, so through these classes, workshops, writings, getting people outside playing Qigong. Hopefully we'll do some more China trekking trips in the future. These are ways I like to pay forward.
This is beautiful. Yeah, I have taken part of, like I said, your Earth Gym, and the teachings about our energy bodies has been removed. It's something I think about all the time when I'm teaching now my little one about life, and I think, where are the children's books that teach about our energy fields? Where are they? Because I want to teach him now while he's understanding, like children are grasping the basics of life under age 7. And this is a basic part of our, biology. And just this lack of awareness, I think, kind of cripples us, honestly, especially as we get older.
Mhm.
Um, so many times we don't know our own energetic boundaries, especially I would say in teen years and early 20s, and leads to all sorts of ailments and life situations that aren't necessarily needed to experience. Um, but yes, this is really, really powerful that you are paying it forward to teach these things. And I definitely look forward to that book whenever that book comes out. But yeah, such a blessing that you've also been able to travel and learn with this doctor, travel to and do internships with him. That is powerful. And it is moving and inspiring to see another live what they say. Um, and practice what they preach. And I'm sure that witnessing his practice and his work has been one of the most enjoyable experiences of your life. Um, so thank you for sharing about that. And I honestly have seen some of your blogs with his your writings about your work with him, but I think I need to dive more because I didn't know there were 50. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah, so tell me, you've already shared so much about just your journey and all the different things that you've been through. Um, Tell me about motherhood. You've mentioned it a few times. Tell me about how that, and I just had a thought too, like how did this element of nourishing your life and nourishment factor into even your pregnancy? Um,
Mm.
like, I mean, most women continue to go, go, go during pregnancy, but maybe you had a different take because of your journey. Yeah, so tell me about how all of this factored into your motherhood journey from conception and beyond.
Yeah, awesome. Well, and I'll backtrack a little bit to pre um, as I was coming up towards motherhood. I hadn't met Nate yet, and I had been living this lifestyle that I loved, traveling, and I very passionate of following my heart, and so I did a lot of like feeling something and feeling a yes, like yes, yes, yes. And so I was doing so much of my yes in life. And it was 2014. I had gone to, I did another internship with my teacher in China. I came back. I was um, um, then went back to China in August, and I surprised my teacher. I went to Shaolin, and then I was leading treks in the Himalayas and Tibetan Plateau, and then in Yunnan, and then I was doing another internship, and then coming back. Anyways, it was all like my yeses, right? But I developed a heart that when we were going into the Tibetan plateau, my heart beat actually was in a meditation at Shaolin right before leaving that my heartbeat became irregular. And like and I remember I saw my doctor, Dr. Zhao, before leaving um, to do the trek, and he's like, "Hailan, 你太过分了." Like you you're doing too much, basically. It's like, yeah, this is all good, but you need to relax too. Like, and I realized it was all this like, yeah, but I wasn't ever exhaling. I was like, oh, the exhale, and that fall, I actually hurt my back, and I could feel this winding up in my body, which was related to my heart. and that slowed me down a lot. Like I couldn't even, I couldn't dance, I couldn't bike, but I could walk. So I walked all the time, and I could only do a little bit of work on the computer, and I had to go for a walk. Um, and then it was during that time that I met Nate, my husband. We had a fun first encounter. It wasn't like we knew we loved each other right at first, but it was like, wow, like it was a very magical encounter. And then it was a few months later. Um, Anyways, I had to leave my place in the city within 2 days very unexpectedly. And I found myself in the forest, living in the forest with a friend. And oh, then also my body was like, my whole nervous system started to relax more. And I was seeing another Chinese medicine doctor at the time in Seattle, and she's like, "Oh, this is very good for you. Can you just stay in the forest?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." And then it was soon after that that Nate and I were collaborating on something. We had all these play dates because we were sharing our qigong and movement. He does animal forms and martial arts, and I was doing. We were both do qigong, and I was sharing Earth Gym. And then, well, we fell in love, and that's a whole magical journey in itself. And then I moved in with him in Carnation, which is a river valley. It's currently still Snoqualmie territory. The tribe is alive and well here by the Tolt and Snoqualmie rivers. And I had another feeling of like, of relaxing, and my body relaxed being in this slower landscape. And then I feel very blessed that Nate and I both share these core foundational teachings that really inform how we choose to live our lives. And he really, I've noticed, like, he knows how to rest. Like, I really didn't still know how to rest. I'm also a Vata type, so I'm always moving. I just like to move. And I still like to move a lot. But I was like, oh, this is it. Like, oh, like resting feels good.
I can
And
relate to this. Yeah, my husband is my slower energy, and it's a great balance. It's so nice to have this.
yeah,
Until you taste it, you don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he has two daughters, and so I got to experience, they welcomed me in open arms, and like, oh, the joys of this restful and energetic, full family, that I just found myself with. And so in our relationship, I really like sunk into this deeper a way of living in a more relaxed, and I was rooted. I had a home. As said, I was nomadic for like 10 or plus years, which was wonderful. But I was starting to feel my body was craving like rooting more. And so it was in that resting, and then sharing all our meals together. I find it was easier to um, really eat all those nourishing foods. I do eat healthfully, and I did be pre being with my husband, but sharing family meals, sitting down together, it makes a huge difference. So my body was getting more and more nourished in these, like, it was like I was definitely exhaling. and and so that really prepped me for motherhood. And again, it was also a listening journey, and I had some key dreams and experiences in nature that really opened the doors. Like, yes, this is um, we felt our yes and received our yes to invite another child here through our family. Um, and I this all happened later in life for me. So I was 41 when we had our full yes. I had another China trip, and then we came back. I was like, yep, now that we had our yes. And I did get pregnant right away. And I know there's a lot of different, issues and things with fertility, but I think for me that learning how to relax and rest more, and the deep nourishment, having home, I feel blessed to have this home base here. And um, and the exhale, adding the exhale into my yeses, but I can also exhale. And sometimes no is a yes to some, to nourishment. And it was really key for me to be able to open the space and the energy and internal nourishment to welcome in a child.
Yeah, that's so powerful. It is, I think, largely an element that most of us kind of miss, but we do on some energetic level welcome our children before they come to us. And with my first, I had I would say a very vague awareness of this. But now with my second, I had a much greater awareness. I mean, I felt that they wanted to come probably at least a year before they decided to, but also listening for our right moment, for welcoming that space. Yeah, that extra dimension. Yeah, it's really powerful to be, I think, spiritually aware of it before, because it is a huge energetic shift in your world. To welcome another human in. It's really very precious, and I love that it happened for you at the time when you were, you had already begun rooting, you had already begun this process, and maybe it wasn't at the time. I mean, you didn't start intentionally to prepare for a child, like, I'm going to settle down so I can have a child. It was part of the process, and your life journey got you there. And that's really, really beautiful too, that it just flowed like that for you. Yeah. So tell me, I know that you've shared a few things in your blog from time to time about your little guy and your adventures and stuff. But tell me about how, like, your work, with Qigong, nature walks, all of this just comes into motherhood and, you know, balancing all the things there is to do in motherhood. I'm sure you're well aware of this, just how this has nourished and enriched your mothering journey.
Thank you. Good question. I remember working with a dear friend of mine during my pregnancy. She does energetic medicine, and I had some fears of, like, well, how will I be able to keep doing all the things I love and be a mom, and um, and she, was feeling into my baby's spirit, and she said, Karen, I just get really strongly one of the gifts your child is bringing is he is coming to help you deepen in everything you love. Yeah, and I found this to be true over and over again. I feel blessed that Nate and I both share the same commitment to our practices that nourish us. So we commit to supporting each other to have these practices as a part of our lives. And like and Ryan was very tiny. I was like, well, I get 10 minutes outside before I need to go back. But like those 10 minutes were like amazing, and I'm so present. And oh my gosh. Um, and then now, we each have a half an hour in the morning to do our practice, but whatever it is, that, I feel like having that teamwork to help with keeping, knowing those are pillars, that self nourishment, so we can be present to nourish our children, um, and and I see, it benefits Orion, my son Orion. He sees us committed to our nourishing life practices, and we practice it with through our eating, through our honoring and paying attention to the seasons change throughout the year, and the we are outdoors a lot, and I find that well, as you can tell through our conversations, and I know you share this, like, I love adventure, and so my son and I go on lots of adventures, and then we do as a family as well. It's just in my time with just me and Orion, because both my husband and I work from home, and have been tag teaming with our childcare. We I have found it extremely nourishing to be adventure mates, and just to um I love finding wonder, and to see, with our children, they're masters at it. And all children are masters at it, and so to have that partnership in exploration, and um and real, for me, it was this really embracing yes, I love the big adventures and traveling abroad, and, the long backpacking trips, and, 2 hours at the river, and exploring an island and finding a abandoned ninja camp. And then we find carpenter ants and have a whole conversation with them. And then we're saving salmon, and, little baby salmon. Like, it's just, um,
Yeah.
it's so fulfilling. And being, especially during COVID, we stayed in Nestle, our river valley, for a whole year. And like, oh, I love watching and being present to all the changes, and getting to know our local wildlife that comes through our yard every day. And so um and how enriching it is for all of us. And it's a way we bond, and grow in connection together as a family, but also with our all our relations, and having a garden, and just digging and finding the worms and all the bugs there. Like, we all feel so much joy. And we found our first ladybug the other day trimming our raspberries, and it's like so exciting.
Yes, I love this. I was just learning some really precious research lately about children, and their first 7 years they live largely in a state of theta, their brainwaves, and that's the imaginal space. That's like the adult dream space, kind of. And I just think that element that they bring in those first 7 years is so needed for the adult life, at least the modern, for sure the modern adult life, where we have so much lost this connection to this part of ourselves. And so our children really invite us in, if we're listening, if we're not too busy with, this or that, and we can truly be with our children is really important. But also, I just love, like you were saying, putting these pillars in place. The witness of Orion, seeing you do this is going to be like such a powerful foundation for him to return to in his adult life. So that's just wonderful. And yeah, so thankful our children invite us into the conversations with the ants, because we need more conversations with ants to help us stay centered, and really even just process life. I think it's really good to take these slow moments and just get outside. And so often it's like just letting yourself unwind out there, like letting all the busy noise like filter through till you can be present. And it's nature is our space for that. And when our children get us out there and they're busy doing this or that, all those things just filter through, and then we can be present again with our little ones. And yeah, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Karen, thank you for sharing all of your heart, your work. Thank you for paying all of the beautiful medicines of your life forward. Qigong, Earth Gym, nourishing life. It's powerful when the work of somebody's life is felt firsthand, and all of everything you bring has been nourishing you firsthand for years. And I think that makes such a huge difference in even just how others receive the 11 billion bits of information that they're getting every second or whatever. Just perceiving your energy and how it's picked up, because it's in you, it's part of you, and clearly a good part of you.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, thank you for sharing. I want to open it up just for a little bit and ask if maybe you had any question pop up or anything that was curious in your mind about me or anything.
Mm. Mm. Um, yeah, I guess, what is like one of your key pillars of nourishment in your life as a mom and just as your luminous being that you are, and now bringing in another being? Like, what is one of your key practices?
Yeah, I um for a long time I didn't know how to rest. And
Mm.
then it became very obvious to me that this is really needed. Like, I need this so much. And I quit fighting it, but I didn't know how to make it my own. I couldn't figure out how to like incorporate it into Patricia and who she was. And so I would say it took me probably 3 or 4 years till I started practicing like started kind of religiously. I would make a rest day, and I'd call it Shabbat. I have, I guess you would say, Jewish tradition interest in my past, but I don't come from a Jewish family or anything, and we were never part of the religion. But I always have a Shabbat every week, and it's my rest day. And it started kind of like I said, like legalistic almost at first. Like, I'm going to follow everything to the T. And I read up all about it. And I was like, I'm going to do this. And, that didn't go very far because when you're forcing something, I'm sure, as you know, it doesn't work good. So then it like died off and it came back. And, then I think just before we had our little guy, I started again trying slowly. And then after I had my first, it became so like clear that it was important to put like boundaries. So they didn't have to be like militant, but just to have at least a boundary, and then the stuff within the boundary can be flexible. And so I learned to drop this kind of legalistic energy within the day that I chose to rest, and just, okay, I'm just going to let this day flow. And so that's what I did. The boundaries are my phone goes off. I don't leave the house, and I don't turn on the computer. And and so like the rest of the day can flow. If I want to get creative in the kitchen, I do. If I want to dance, I do. We always light a candle to welcome this element of energy, this energetic element that we largely forget about in our lives, but the elements of nature back in. And if the weather's nice, I ground. I get outside and just sit with the earth and listen. Just listening, just this stillness and this listening has been so essential for me. So I definitely try to do this. This is once a week, and I make it a habit. And this is probably my most favorite and strongest pillar, I would say, for us and our family in life. And it's largely what happens in Qigong for you, I'm sure, is this listening space to just be present with our being, with our energy, and to let it process through us. It's so important. I have so many times thought I need to, make something like Qigong or something a daily practice, but I have yet to get there in my life. But I know that what I do and what I do have is very essential to nourishment. So yeah, thank you for that question. It's a very good segue into the end of all of our discussion today. Tell me if you have any offerings.
I do have my ongoing Women's Nourishing Qigong community. The next 10-week container. It's a lovely, lovely group of women. We have a lot of returning women and then always some new faces. So that is pretty consistent at Women's Nourishing Qigongers. And if anyone's interested, you can email me, and my website is KarenJoyFletcher.com. Earth Gym, I've been teaching it mostly at Wilderness Awareness School the last few years, though when I do any weekend offerings or week series in the Pacific Northwest, or if it's at a conference or something, I will always announce that in my newsletters. And there's more info on that story with Earth Gym, which came and layered in after my Qigong journey. And that's on my website too.
Thank you, Karen, for sharing. Thank you for your really delightful emails. I totally recommend getting on your email list. They're always chock full of just nourishment, 100% nourishment. So yeah, thank you for that. And thank you for sharing today. It was a pleasure as always.
Thank you, Patricia. Wonderful to be with you. And thank you for this opportunity.
I hope that was really enjoyable for you and that you received the nourishment just from our discussion. I wanted to kind of give a side note that since the recording of the main segment of the podcast, the interview with Karen, I have learned Qigong and have made it a daily practice, which has been incredibly nourishing for me. Yeah, really thankful for that change in my personal life. And as always, I'm going to finish out the podcast with some vocalizations from my heart to nourish you. Enjoy. Life energy flowing through you and me, filling us up with love. Divinity flowing through all, blessing you and me. Filling up, oh, and overflowing. Let your heart be whole. Use your hands holding love. Embrace your own being. Soothing, soothing, smooth.